Hello. Today I'd like to talk about looking and feeling young, as well as living and mortality and immortality. Well, I'm going to start with the last item first and probably end with it too. Immortality. Some of you may know, but some of you may not know, that there is an animal that lives on this planet that is technically immortal. There is a jellyfish that lives in the ocean, and that jellyfish can be born from an egg and then grow into a polyp that is attached to a hard surface like a rock. And then that polyp is like a child. And then when the polyp grows up, it turns into a jellyfish that detaches from the rock and swims around. Now, the strange thing about this particular jellyfish, and not all jellyfish have this capacity, but this one particular jellyfish can live its whole life as a jellyfish swimming around the ocean, but it can also turn back into a polyp and attach to a rock. It can become a child again. And then when it's ready, it can grow back into an adult and detach and then swim around the ocean. And it can do this an infinite number of times, as long as it doesn't get eaten or succumb to some kind of disease, like an infection or something like that. That's pretty wild to think about. And this jellyfish can mate with other jellyfish and lay new eggs and create new jellyfish that they are also capable of living immortal lives. I wonder what that's like. I wonder what it's like to have the option to live forever and to become a child again, and then to become an adult again, and then to become a child again. Now, I was reading a little bit about what makes one of those jellyfish that are adults go back to becoming a polyp. And it's usually when the environment gets very stressful. That'd be pretty wild to say, you know what? Things are too stressful. I'm going to go back to being a kid again. And then you actually get smaller physically. And then maybe you also, in your heart, you also become a child again, filled with wonder and curiosity and amazement and laughter and joy. Also, a sense of innocence and humility, that there's so much to see and learn in the world. I think that in some ways becoming a child again can lead to being healthy and young again. Not to say that you should give up your responsibilities and behave irresponsibly and have someone take care of you. That's not what I mean. I mean more the mindset of a child, of looking at the world with eyes that are curious and know that we don't know everything, and that every moment is new. Every situation is new. Nothing ever repeats. Well, when I first thought about it, I thought, I don't want to live forever. But then I thought about it some more, and I said, well, I think that it just is. I don't think it's good or bad. I don't think it's good or bad that that jellyfish can live forever if it wants to, or that we, all humans, leave this body eventually. Now, where do we go after that? Well, that's up to a lot of debate. I mean, who knows? But what got me thinking about all these things is that I made a video about a week ago called Strange Experiences of Consciousness. And it drew a lot of new viewers to the Gooby and Dooby channel. I'm Gooby, and Dooby is my doggie who's sitting here. She's going to say hi. I want to say hi to the camera. Dooby is my friend. So it brought that video brought a lot of new viewers to the channel, and a lot of them said, "Gooby, how the heck are you 40 years old? You look like you're in your 20s." And I was surprised by how many people said that, and it got me to thinking, what makes someone look a certain age? And so I was like, I think I want to make a video about that. About looking and feeling young, but also thinking about being mortal in this body, at least. And what does that mean? What does it mean to die at some point? So yeah, that's what this video is about. First, people were asking, how do you take care of yourself? What's your skincare routine? Some people said, man, it's true that Asians don't raisin. I don't know if that's really true or not, because I know a lot of Asians that have raisined. They look very old. But I can share what I do to try to feel and look young. Well, I don't try to look young. But I want to feel young. I can share what I do. And with that comes a disclaimer, because I do have a medical degree. I graduated from the Duke University School of Medicine, and I practiced as a medical doctor for many years. And I don't practice anymore for a number of reasons that are in other videos that you can see. And I'm not going to talk about that here, but I will talk about the disclaimer that I'm just sharing my personal experiences with how I've taken care of my own body. What I have done for myself. Well, I'm still alive, so I haven't ended up severely hurt or dead. I'm making this video, but what works for me may not work for you. Also, this is not a doctor-patient relationship. This is a YouTube video for entertainment, and well, maybe you learned something from it that might help your life, but I am not giving out medical advice as your doctor, because I am not your doctor, and I don't want to be your doctor. I left medicine. So if you want a doctor-patient relationship, talk to your own doctor, and if you don't have one, go find one. What else? Anything that I talk about in this video could be deadly. I'm going to be talking about salt and water. If you drink too much water too quickly, you could die. If you don't drink enough water, you could die. That's up to you, what you choose. So, whatever I talk about here is just what I've done, and it may not work for you. And even if you think you're doing what I was doing, you may not be doing what I was doing. So I don't assume any of the risk. That's on you if you decide to. That's my disclaimer. Now that we got that out of the way, what do I do to take care of myself? Why do I look 20 years younger than I am, or at least a decade younger? Because I'm 40 now. I was born in 1984, which means I'm going to turn 41 this year. Well, I learned a lot from my patients and several doctors who have dedicated their lives to studying lifestyle medicine or preventative medicine. There's another word for it, functional medicine. They're all kind of talking about the same thing. It's talking about how to best take care of your body in a holistic way. And I learned a lot of this from doctors and from watching what happens to patients when they live a certain way. And so I've made a whole set of videos about that called the Help Your Body Heal series, which I'll put the card up here, and you can click on that, and it'll be a playlist that you can listen to that. Now, in that playlist, I was trying to put my thoughts together on the fly while I was making the videos. So this video is a little bit more concise, but I'm not going to go into those into the depth of details that I did in those videos. So if you want to learn more about that, just click on that card, that link that I did, or find the playlist on this channel. It's the Help Your Body Heal series, and this will be at the end of that. So what do I do? What did I learn, and what do I do now? Well, I quit medicine. I quit practicing medicine a year and a half ago. And before that, I was already putting some of these things into practice. But especially after quitting, I had time to put some of these things that I learned from my patients and other doctors into practice. And this is what I did. Well, before I forget, because someone's going to ask, what do you do for your skin? The only thing I do for my skin is I have a regular old bar of soap that I wash my face when I take a shower. And I take a shower not every day, but almost every day. And I don't put anything on it. No moisturizer, no serum, no abrasion, no mask, no mud thing or whatever that people do to their skin. I'm not saying that that's a waste of money, but I don't do that. I literally just wash my face. Not even every day, usually, but when I'm showering with a bar of soap. It's not a fancy bar of soap. I buy it in bulk. I think from like Costco or something. It's just a regular bar of soap. Don't put any moisturizer. And the only thing I do for my skin is in the summertime when it's really sunny for most of the day, I will put a sunscreen on. And I wear a hat, baseball cap, when it's sunny. That's it for skincare. What I think really makes a difference in skin health is the overall health of your body and how well your body's healing. And if your microbiome, that means the 100 trillion bacteria that live in our intestines, if they're healthy, then our body's healthy. So that is really the key to, I think, healthy skin. Well, that's one of the keys. The second key is a good salt and sweat balance. So I'm going to talk quickly about, well, not quickly. I'm just going to talk about both of those keys. Key number one, a healthy microbiome. The bacteria that live in our gut, there's so many of them, 100 trillion. The number of cells of bacteria outnumbers our own, I think, 10 to 1. So why do we have so many bacteria that live inside of us, that we provide a home for them? Why is that? Why would we provide bacteria a home? Can't even see them, can't talk to them, but they live with us. A lot of them. Well, they make chemicals that we can't, because they've got genes, that's DNA, that we don't. They make proteins that we can't make because we don't have the genes to make them. And they make chemicals that we can't make because we don't have the genes or proteins to make them. But they do. And when they're healthy, they repay us for letting them live inside of us by giving us chemicals that we need. There's all kinds of different chemicals. But there's some called short-chain fatty acids. You don't need to remember that. But that helps our immune system be balanced and function properly. And that immune system is our body's way of healing and repairing things and fighting off infections. If you get a scratch or a cut, or you break your bone, or you get infected by the flu virus or something, the immune system is what goes around your body and fixes things. If you are helping your friend move a sofa, and then you get a tear in your disc in your back, and you got a lot of back pain, and maybe a disc ruptures and you get nerve pain down the arm or leg or something, your immune system is the one that goes in and repairs that disc and fixes up the nerve and the joint. That's a really important system in our body. And the immune system doesn't function right if the microbiome is not healthy. So how do you make a healthy microbiome? Well, they eat fiber. Fiber is found in plants. So if you have a whole food plant-based diet, it doesn't have to be completely vegan or vegetarian, but as long as you get, a good rule of thumb is 5 servings of veggies and fruits every day, and you add some whole grains and some beans and some nuts and seeds, wow, you're going to get a lot of fiber, and your microbiome is going to be super happy, super healthy, and they're going to make your body super happy and healthy too. So that is how you have a healthy microbiome. Now, how do you wreck the microbiome? Well, the way to do that is you don't give them the food they need, which is fiber. So things that don't have fiber are processed foods, things that are heavily refined. Plus, a lot of them have preservatives, which kill bacteria. So if something can sit on your kitchen counter and it doesn't go bad within like 3 or 4 days, or at least a week or so, if it's still there and it's like 3 weeks later and it looks the same, that's going to wreck your microbiome. What else wrecks the microbiome? Well, when you salt things, you can preserve it because it kills bacteria. So if you eat too salty, and we're going to talk about that in key number 2, which is, well, out of the 2, when we talk about salt and sweating. If you eat too salty, you wreck the microbiome because it destroys the bacteria. What else? If you only eat animal foods, then you don't get fiber because animal foods don't have fiber. So you really need to have some veggies and fruits and some whole grains in there to have a healthy microbiome. That helps you heal quickly. And when you heal quickly, your body heals everything, including the skin, the joints, your brain, your lungs, your eyes, your gut. Everything heals. Key number 2 is a proper balance of salt and sweating. And what I mean by that is salt, sodium. So there's different kinds of salts, but sodium is the most important for the human body because sodium is in sweat. And humans, we don't have a bunch of fur all over our body because we are able to sweat and cool off, and that's given us an important advantage. Well, at least it used to be an important advantage in that we could keep running and then hunt prey that would overheat because they couldn't sweat like we can. So our bodies, because we don't have fur, we have exposed skin, and we can sweat a lot. We can stay cool even when we're running for many miles for a long time in hot weather. So that's just part of being human. Salt is very important. And if we are sweating a lot, you lose a lot of salt. So here's the thing about salt that I learned from patients and my own experience. This one is tricky, and this one you can mess up. It's actually pretty easy to mess up, and I've messed it up several times. And so I'm going to share some pitfalls too. But it's really important for skin because what scientists and doctors have figured out is that one, if you eat too much salt, your kidneys pee out a lot of that salt. But your body stores salt for the long duration in two places. Well, there's a couple places wherever there's collagen, but that main area is in skin. It stores it in skin. So your body stores extra salt in skin and muscle. And that was really discovered in the late 20-teens by researchers who did some whole body MRI scans and figured this out. Really smart people. So our body can hold extra sodium for the long run in the skin. And then it can access that anytime. So that's really key, because a lot of times people say, they say, oh, that person looks really old. Well, why do they look old? Well, their skin's all wrinkly and their skin's sagging. They have so many wrinkles here in their face and their neck or their arm, underneath the arm or something like that. There's the term, oh, that man's really salty. He's an old and salty man. I think that is referring to this problem. It may not have originally meant to refer to this problem, but it does. I think if we have an imbalance of salt, now this is my hypothesis, I think if we have a chronic overload of salt in our diet and we don't sweat enough to balance it out, I think it builds up in the skin, and then you can look really old with like overgrown skin that's all wrinkly and saggy. And so when I mean a balance, let's just talk about a couple situations. And I've talked about this, help your body heal. If you live in an area where you're sweating a lot, like you live in Mexico or Texas, and you work construction, you build a highway, and you're standing on black tarmac all day with no shade, and it's 110 degrees, so hot, and you're doing that all day long. You're sweating buckets for the whole day while you're losing a lot of sweat. You have to replenish that salt. And I think that's why cultures that are from warm climates like Mexico or India have very salty foods. In contrast to that, if you live that kind of lifestyle and you don't eat salty, you're going to get dehydrated very quick and you'll die. Now, in contrast, if you live up in a colder climate, or you still live in Mexico or Texas, but you spend all day in air conditioning and you don't sweat much, you don't need to eat that salty. In fact, you should probably be eating way less salty. So what happens if there's an imbalance? Well, we already talked about if you don't get enough salt and you sweat a lot. Well, you start to lose weight. Well, first you can get dehydrated, but if you somehow stay hydrated, but you chronically don't have enough salt, well, you start losing weight. Your body starts taking the salt out of other places, including your muscles. You can become anorexic and then die. What if you eat way too much salt? Well, I think what happens then is, we know that because you just look at the average American. High blood pressure, heart attacks, strokes, inflammation throughout the body, autoimmune problems, and you look old because your skin's all messed up. So it's really a balance. Now, what can you do to try to feel and look younger, knowing this information? Well, one, try to get 5 servings of veggies and fruits every day so your microbiome is happy. And then number 2, don't eat so salty. The average American eats like 3,500 milligrams of sodium, 3,500 milligrams of sodium or more every day. But if you look at hunter-gatherer tribes that live in the Amazon, they documented that they eat around 750 milligrams compared to 3,500. So these tribes that are hunter-gatherers, they're in a tropical rainforest jungle. They're running around gathering food and hunting and doing all that. They're sweating, but they only eat 750 milligrams on average of sodium every day. But Americans are eating something like 5 times that or more. In fact, Koreans, where my heritage is from, they've been documented to eat up to 10,000 milligrams of sodium in a day. Not good, unless you're sweating a ton all the time. So it's a balance. Well, what can you do to try to help your skin and your body function better in terms of salt? Well, don't eat so salty, unless you need to because you're sweating a bunch. But let's say you had been eating too salty and you've stored up a bunch of extra salt in your skin and you don't feel good and your body's not functioning right. Well, you can just eat a little less salty and sweat some and draw off some of those sodium stores. And this is where you could get into trouble. Mainly if you don't eat enough sodium for a long time and you keep sweating it out and you keep losing sodium, well, you're going to lose weight or either get dehydrated or lose weight eventually and then become severely underweight. And you could die from either of those problems. Or another pitfall is you can drink too much water and drop your sodium levels down. That's called hyponatremia. And that can be deadly. And I've done that to myself a couple times. It doesn't feel good. So if you drink too much water too quickly and you don't have much salty foods, what can happen is that even though you may have some salt stored up in the skin and the muscles, but if you drink too much water too quickly, your body doesn't have time to mobilize those salt stores from elsewhere. And the amount of salt in your blood gets diluted by all the water you just drank. What happens then is your brain swells. But because your brain is encased in bone, the skull, the cranium, it doesn't have much room to expand because this bone is solid. And if your brain expands too much, you can start getting a headache. You can feel nauseated, like you're going to throw up. You can become confused and maybe have a hard time talking or formulating your thoughts or words. And if it progresses even more, you can become unconscious or have a seizure or go into a coma or die. And people have died. There's every once in a while I see a news article about like someone who drank too much liquid all too fast. Like there was a radio show in California where the contestants drink a bunch of water and hold their pee to try to win a Wii console. It was hold your pee for a Wii. And the winner of that contest died. She got the Wii and she went home to her kids. She was in her 30s and then she passed out and died. I remember reading about some frat guy who got, they were getting hazed, joining the fraternity, and he was made to drink a bunch of milk, like way too much milk, and then he died. And I've had patients that like drank too much tea and they gave themselves hyponatremia. And I myself have given myself hyponatremia a couple times. And I'll describe those two situations that I've done that because I think this is very easy to do. So, I've been eating very low salt and then going to sweat, and I think that helps my skin and the rest of my body function well. But there's two situations where I've messed up and I gave myself hyponatremia. One is I drank too much water because I didn't calculate how much water is already in vegetables and fruit. So when I usually eat a green smoothie in the morning, which is kale mixed with some fruits and water and some flaxseed. I don't use oat milk anymore. I just put water in there. But all the fruits in the kale and the water that I add, that's already a ton of water. It's like a liter of water or something that I drink in the morning. I don't need to drink a cup of water in addition to that, because that's already a ton of water. And then for like lunch, I'll usually have some oatmeal. So I pour some water and some oats, and I have oats that I buy in bulk that they don't have anything added to it. It's just oats. So I just put oats, add some water, and then heat it up, make it an oatmeal, and then add some flaxseed and a little bit of cinnamon in the wintertime. Cinnamon gets your brown fat activated, so it heats you up. Brown fat is only located in the chest and the armpits and the neck area, and what it does is it heats you up. It heats up your core. So it's really good if in the wintertime if you live somewhere that's cold. So I add cinnamon in the wintertime to my oatmeal, and a little bit of maple syrup, just add a little sweetener, but no salt. And that's a lot of water there. So if I, on top of this green smoothie and oatmeal, if I drank the recommended amount of water, which it depends on where you look, but it's like 8 cups of water, or some say even 16 cups of water. If I drank that much water on top of the water I was getting in those 2 food items, then I start to get a headache, and I feel nauseous, feel woozy, and just feel foggy headed, like my brain's not working quite right, and I don't feel good. And if I really overdo it, then I start feeling sick. And I think that's where a lot of people say that, I tried a vegetarian diet and it nearly killed me. I felt like I was dying. I think that's because of this problem. Drinking too much water when you're already getting water from the veggies and fruits and whatever else you made. So that's one way I've screwed up, and I think that's pretty common. And another way is I was hiking in the mountains with Whiskey Bry, and we did a very long hike, 22 miles, and we went up and over a mountain range. And I was just pounding the water because I was sweating a lot, because it was very vigorous and tough. And so I just thought I need to stay hydrated and keep ahead of my sweating. But I got too far ahead, and I was peeing a bunch. I peed like 7 or 8 times of clear water, clear urine. And I started having those symptoms of headache and having trouble thinking and even talking, putting words together, and just feeling nauseous, not feeling good. That's because I was drinking too much water. And my body was trying to counteract that by peeing a bunch, but it wasn't able to keep up with how much water I was drinking. So the solution to that is listen to your body. Look at your pee. Is your pee clear and you're peeing a bunch? Or is it dark yellow? If it's dark yellow, you gotta drink more water. You're dehydrated. But if you're peeing a bunch of clear urine, like a whole bunch, like 7 or 8 times in the day, you're drinking way too much water. Listen to your thirst signal. A lot of people have forgotten the difference between what it feels like to be thirsty and hungry. Hunger is a different feeling. It's like in your chest, and it makes you want to like salivate, and it's kind of like a pain, like a pang of hunger. Thirst, your mouth is dry, and it's up here, this sensation. So it's different. So I would just say listen to your body. Your body tells you what it needs, and it gives you clues, like in your urine, and how your head's feeling. So that is where you can mess up, and that could be deadly. So, just be careful when you're doing that, because you can die from drinking too much water or too little, or having too much salt or too little salt. But I think that's actually, between that and the microbiome, that is probably the key determinant of how your skin looks and how young you look, and also how young you feel. Now, on top of that, sweating. So you can sweat by exercise or sitting in a sauna or or living in a place that's warm. And even if you live in a place with warm, if you live in air conditioning, you're not going to sweat. So you could even turn off or turn down the air conditioner. If you live in a place that's cool, you can just put on a couple extra layers and go for a walk or a run and sweat underneath all that warm clothes. That's what I do now in the wintertime up here in Washington State, where it's cold in the winter. It's not like super cold like Alaska or Minnesota, but it's cold. But I can sweat if I just put on a shirt and a fleece and a hat and gloves and long pants and go for a run. I can sweat a good amount. That doesn't cost anything. I can do it anytime too. Oh yeah, and the point about this is a lot of this stuff doesn't cost anything more than what you normally would do. If you already shower and wash yourself with some soap, which I hope you do, it's not going to cost you more. You don't have to buy some product. You don't have to buy some skincare thing. You don't have to buy some special food. You have to be feeding yourself anyways, but if you just feed yourself stuff that's a little less salty and has enough vegetables and fruit in it, in addition to whatever else you want to eat, and stay away from processed foods, you're good. And then just sweat somehow. Sleeping's really important. 7 to 8 hours every day, and preferably at the same time every night. Waking up or going to bed and waking up at the same time, according to your own sleep rhythm. That's really important to repairing and healing. And then the other things that are, I think, really important is having a youthful spirit. I think being connected with yourself, not repressing things. If you have repressed stuff, exploring it, finding out what's hiding in the basement. Go down to the basement. Take some time to meditate on that. Really figure out, what the heck am I hiding down there? That these monsters that I find too scary to face. You go down there and you face them and you become friends with them and they become part of you, and they don't have to live in the basement anymore. In fact, they probably don't even really bother you anymore because you're not pushing them away. Same thing with anxiety and fear. Anxiety and fear is just worrying about something that doesn't exist. It's something in the future that hasn't happened. But the immense energy that's created by running away from it causes problems. So dealing with anxiety, fear, repressed emotions and thoughts, shame and guilt, all these things, just dealing with them, accepting them, and also relinquishing this idea of duality of good and bad, but just accepting being alive, accepting you for who you are. That way you don't have to hide anymore. Because repressing does screw up the microbiome. And that's actually documented, surprisingly. People have done experiments on people who repress their emotions versus not, and the ones who do have problems with their microbiome. So being connected with yourself, being connected with other people, but also, like the jellyfish, having some childlike qualities of wonder and curiosity and humility in the sense that knowing that we don't know everything and that every moment is new, and that there's always something to learn, something new. One of my friend's partners says a saying that the moment you stop learning is the moment you die. I think that's true. I think that if you're really living, you realize that every moment is new and there's something new to learn all the time. As soon as you start to think, oh, this is just the same stuff, but a different day, that's when you start to die and get old. Because it's not true. Every day is different. There's different stuff every day. Well, those are the main things of how to look and feel youthful, even when you might be like 70 years old or 80 years old. I don't. I'm not afraid of getting older. I am going to be 41 this year, and I've thought a lot about mortality and dying. And I don't think that I'm this body. And I know someone in my life who's had a near-death experience, and they floated above their body while their body was dying during that time, but they came back to life, thank goodness. But they were floating above their body, watching other doctors work on their body that was dying. They were just floating in the room, like from the ceiling, looking down. And that tells me that we're not really our bodies. We're kind of like an energy that's inhabited this body, my body, your body, and it makes me think that there's sort of an immortality to that energy that we are. While this body is temporary, we're kind of temporarily inhabiting this body. I think the energy that is behind and inhabiting the body is forever. What that is exactly, I mean, people have all kinds of different religious interpretations of that, and I don't know. When I think about it, I think that we're all part of the same consciousness that is in everything, including the sofa and the air and the sweater and Doobie and the carpet. Everything has got consciousness in it, and it's in us too. And I think when this body dies, when my body dies, that energy, that consciousness just joins everything. You can just call it the everything. It's everything. And so does that mean I really died? Like me as in Gooby? Well, my body died, but did Gooby die? I think Gooby just joined everything. So Gooby's still alive because everything is still alive. It's there. There's a Buddhist monk called Thich Nhat Hanh who has a really good YouTube video. I think he's since passed away, but yeah, he has. But he had a good talk about, I think there's a little girl whose puppy died, and she was very sad about it. And she asked the Buddhist monk, about the puppy dying and how sad she was. And then Thich Nhat Hanh talks about, does a cloud ever die? And I find that talk very fascinating, because a cloud can appear, be born in the sky, and then you can even watch it evaporate and go away. So did it die? Was it born into existence, and then did it die when it disappeared, when it evaporated? Well, the water particles are still in the air. They're still up there. You just can't see them anymore. And then or some clouds, instead of evaporating, they turn into rain, and they come down. And then the raindrops fall into the mountain, or they may fall as snow. And then the snow melts, goes into a stream, into a river. It comes to the city where you live, or the town where you live, and you drink it. Now that water is in your body. Now that cloud that seemed to die is in you, and is in the river, is in the trees, is in all the animals. And when you pee, the cloud leaves your body and then goes back into the lake, into the river, and then into the ocean. And in the ocean, it evaporates back up into the sky and then becomes a cloud again. So, did that cloud ever die? Was it ever born? It's the same water. It's the same water that our ancestors drank. It's the same water that has been flowing on this earth since before life began on this planet. Did that cloud die? I don't think so. So, will I die? I don't think so either. I mean, this body that I inhabit will die, but me, Gooby, I don't think I'll die. I don't think you'll die either. So, in that sense, your body will die, but I don't think you will die. That is my thoughts lately about dying. I don't think we talk about dying enough in American culture. I think other cultures are much better about talking about it than we are. I think a lot of Americans are very afraid of dying. They've become so attached to this body that we have that to think about leaving this body is terrifying. But I don't think it needs to be that way. And also, I think that drives a lot of this desire to look young because people are afraid of dying. So I don't really care too much about looking young. I want to feel young and be young inside. I want to have a childlike curiosity and energy and joy and willingness to learn and know that I haven't learned everything and that every moment is new. That's what I care about. I care about making sure that I do the best I can, that my body functions well, and the microbiome I live with is happy, because the microbiome will take care of me if they're happy, and I take care of them. Those are the things that I care about. I don't care about plastic surgery and all this junk to make yourself look younger when you're not really younger. And I don't really care about trying to make this body live forever. If I was a jellyfish that lived immortally, well then, I was a jellyfish that lived immortally. It's not good or bad. But I'm not a jellyfish that can turn into a polyp and then regenerate. I'm a human being. And that's okay. It's not good or bad. It's just, it is. So, those are my thoughts about looking young, feeling young, living, dying, and immortality. Hope you have a good day or evening wherever you are.